from our previous sessions, we prepared something known as budget versus actual data. So this is the section for my budget, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and total 2025 budget. This is my actual for 2025. We assume that we just crossed quarter 1 of 2025 and we have the actuals. For rest of the 3 quarters, we forecasted the numbers, and accordingly, this is my a combination of actual plus forecast for 2025. What am I going to do over here is I maybe add a column, call it budget slash actual slash forecast, and start entering the headers. So these numbers represent my budget over here. So essentially, I'm bringing entire data under one set of columns. I would copy this, paste this again at the bottom, call is actual slash forecast. And then copy this data, cut this and paste this over here. Now I don't need these columns, which I can delete. Don't need these. These need not be bold. Okay, so I have these numbers over here. Now I can start preparing my interactive dashboard. Let me add a sheet by pressing Shift F11. This is my sheet for my interactive dashboard reporting. Let me start with budget or actual, and this would be my summary. My revenue from lemon, revenue from orange flavor. Then I'd have my COGS. In fact, let me list down the COGS items. These are my COGS items. Then I have, what do I have? I have my payroll, my indirect expenses. These are over here. Okay. So I have these, and then I have my depreciation net margin. I would have my gross margin somewhere over here. So let me first create a data validation for period. So I would go with data tab over here, select the data validation. From the drop down, select list, click on this arrow option in the source section, and then select these as my drop down option. So now I have this drop down option and I can select. Now I know that if I select Q2, these numbers that would be reflecting over here won't be the actual numbers. It would be the projections, the forecasted numbers. So accordingly, I should write a formula over here also using if function. If this value over here is Q1 25, then it should write actual. Otherwise, if this over here is 2025, then the header here should be at plus forecast. In all the rest of the cases, which is basically Q2, Q3, Q4, this should write as forecast over here. So now I can check this. Q1 changes it to actual, Q4 2025 changes it to forecast, and rest all depending on my inputs value of my formula. What I want is, as I change my period from here, if I select Q1, the numbers here should be Q1 numbers, and so on and so forth. If I select Q2, it should be Q2 numbers. So for that, I'm going to make the use of a function known as switch function. Let's see how it works. I select the switch function. I don't have to write the full function. I just type in equal to or plus, write SW, and the suggested function is shown at the bottom. If I press tab key, this would automatically take the complete name. My expression would be from here. So this would be my expression, which is basically my input value. Then I go to comma, I press comma, and then I go to the sheet from where I need to take my value. So if it's Q1, then it should take this value. If it's Q2, it should take this value. If it's Q3, it should take this value, this value. Accordingly, I'm defining it. So now you see, when I press, since Q1 is selected, it is taking 3.7 million, which is Q1 value. If I select Q2, this would take 11.9 million. I can do the same for this also. The only change being here would be the change in the row section. So this is in my third row. Hence, you see, with this selection, the third row is mentioned. I copy this and then paste it over here. Everything else remains the same, but these numbers are currently reflecting my budget numbers. I want them to reflect my forecast numbers, which is there in this row number 144. So what I can alternatively do is, instead of row 3 over here, instead of taking it from row 3, this should take from row 144. I can do this either by changing it manually, going to every cell and every option and changing from D3 to D144, or I just press a Control H. Instead of 3, I ask it to replace it to 144. Do a replacement over here, and you see the Q2 value is showing up as 9.8 million. Let me verify if that's the right number. I go to actual and forecast section. Yeah, that's the right number. So accordingly, I have made this change. Now, again, I have the option if I want to complete my dashboard. I want to see the total lemon revenue. So this lemon revenue, I know it's in row number 5. I again copy this completely, paste it over here. I know I need to replace 3 with 5. I press a Control H, which is for find and replace. Instead of 3, I select 5, and then I press Alt R, or just I press R from here. Either ways, it has changed. You see, my Q2 numbers are 3013, which is telling from here. I would do the same exercise over here. I know for lemon, the row over here is, I can see, is 146. So I can change this by again pressing Control H, which is find and replacement shortcut, and then changing it. Okay. So what we've done is we copied this formula, the switch function, to all the relevant cells where we needed the values. And it's fairly easy using the switch function, basically using the combination of switch and Control H function. It's fairly easy to copy the formulas and get the numbers reflected. It's time to bring it in a proper format. I'll start with fixing the formulas over here. For total COGS, we need a sum total of all of these. Gross margin would be my revenue minus COGS. For quarter 1, I'm at loss. Maybe in rest of the quarters, yeah, in rest of the quarters, I'm at profit. For SG&A would be my sum total of this. Indirect expense would be a sum total of these. Depreciation is here. Net margin would be this minus payroll minus SG&A minus indirect expense minus depreciation. Accordingly, this has been done. Okay, so now let me start giving it proper structure, bring the numbers in proper format. I selected all the numbers. I selected all the numbers and then press Control plus Shift plus 1. Then you see all the numbers are in proper format with two places after decimal and with the comma at the relevant places. I would reduce this. I don't need the decimals. So yeah, this looks much better. And maybe I just highlight it somewhere over here. Highlight my revenue numbers. These are the subheaders, so maybe make it slightly shorter, slightly smaller. Don't need an extra row over here. These main headings deserves to be bold. Then get rid of the rows that we had. This, the way I am grouping it using my keyboard shortcut is I select all the rows. I select the entire row pressing Shift and spacebar. Then I continue pressing the Shift and using the down arrow key. I select the entire range of rows and then press Alt D G G in sequence so that these rows are all grouped. And yeah, this is how it looks. Maybe I can put it under proper box. You see, now as I change the period, the selection over here changes. So this is how my P&L looks like. Now I can further create a dashboard out of it. So maybe I get rid of the grid lines and then use this. I insert a chart over here. What I can further do is I can create a chart, a pie chart to show the contribution of each line item. Okay, at forecast. I need a similar chart for my budget as well. So now you see if I change the period, my numbers over here would change. And thereby I'll be able to present these numbers in an interactive manner. It looks better. It looks much elegant and presentable. Okay. So that's my another form of interactive dashboard.